Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how I turn my drawings from this to this and basically my whole coloring process. So yeah, I used to struggle a lot with coloring. My drawings used to look like this, like black and white. Disclaimer, there's nothing wrong with this art style. It's just I wanted more color in my work. And when I did color, it turned out kind of bland and I just really hated it a lot. I struggled a lot with learning like color theory on Pinterest and shit. And so I'm gonna try and give you guys some tips on how I do my coloring now. I really hope this helps because I struggled a lot with it. So one method is grayscaling. This is basically when you just select your drawing, you have your outline or like your sketch. You have a gray layer, which is usually in the middle, not too dark, not too light. And then you start shading with a darker gray. Only use values on the grayscale. Here's my brush, by the way, I'll link it. Yeah, so you use another darker gray to outline your shapes and whatnot. I'm sorry, this is not really informative, but yeah, you just use colors on the grayscale. When you're done doing your gray values, you're gonna want to layer them like this into like a clipping mask. I put my liner on the top and the gray values are gonna be on the bottom. And then you're gonna start coloring with your layer set to overlay, and it's gonna be on top set in the clipping mask group. So as you can see, look how nice that looks when you start layering those colors. Just be careful, your color might look like this. It's going to look funky if you don't have it set in overlay. But if you do, it's going to look nice and clean and it's going to look awesome. Almost like you just shaded it piece by piece. So just keep coloring and boom. That looks great, right? It looks like you painted it and it's awesome and it's amazing. And yeah, grayscaling is a great method, but I kind of got tired of it personally because I just felt like my works weren't looking like Zelda or weren't looking like a Riot Games profile or a Fortnite loading screen. I wanted a lot more vibrant, like, color and like a feeling when you looked at my work. And so I kept on going through trial and error and practicing how to color. So when I started going through all these experiments, I wanted to see how I could shade to make it look better. And a nice method I learned was the curve method and the linear method. So with the curve method, when you color, you use kind of a C-curve to go from light to shadow instead of going traditionally up and down like your brain would want you to. And also start with a less saturated color as your base. As you can see here, this is kind of like an experiment with the C-curve as well as using other colors to shade. As you can see here with this arm, it's brown, but at the same time, I used a little bit of green and a little bit of blue to shade it. I know this has a specific name. I forgot the name of the method, but yeah. Here's another work of mine that I also wrote in another, but basically just showcasing. Okay, yeah, here so you can see I used green and purple and blue for his face, even though he's a white man. But yeah, that's basically the whole point. We're gonna see how that applies here with this little headshot for one of my OCs. So I start out with a sketch, very simple, kind of clean. Usually my sketches are kind of stupid, but this one came out nice. But yeah, you start with your sketch, and then once you get all of that gridded down and you get to what you want, we're gonna start coloring. You're gonna lay down your base colors first. I always do that. Remember, less saturated colors to start. If it's brown, it's gonna be less saturated in the box that's pink, or you're gonna use to look kind of muddy in a way because you're gonna add on to it and add deeper tones, especially when painting skin. Here's a little guide I used. You can see I used greens and also maybe a little bit of purplish, kind of yellow. And for the hair, it's also the same idea. You want to just build on top of the base color to add some depth to it. Also, learning how to block shapes is really important when it comes to painting faces like this or coloring them. I'll put a link for one of the videos that I like to use as a guide whenever I'm doing this. It was really helpful when I was learning how to like understand the face and cheekbones and how to like bring out the nose. You want it to look like it's clay, almost like it's a 3D product, you know what I'm saying? So the hair is kind of, as you can see, like I was struggling with it, but that's just me being indecisive. And then I added some highlights with blues and whites because that's originally how the Riot art style is for most of their character work. I messed it up here, but I fixed it. And then for her cuff, I also used a little bit of blue and green, and I adjusted it. Forward. Wow, look at how awesome awesome she looks. Gorgeous, beautiful, amazing, almost like an official artwork. And that's really what I was aiming for. Like, that was my goal. That I love how it looks. And using this curve method is really useful. I don't use grayscale for most of my works nowadays just because it's not. I'd rather paint the colors individually, but that's okay. So now for the work in my thumbnail. So here we're starting off, right, with our sketch line art type stuff. Laying down base colors. Okay, this base is not saturated at all. Like, it's really orange. But like I said, when it comes to painting skin tones, it really depends. As you can see, the shadows are a little bit grayer. They're not as deep as a flushed red as before. This is also my light placement for whenever I paint faces. So it's on the eyelids, the nose, and the forehead. Also, when doing eye whites, guys, use a neutral color, please, and take out the bottom. It looks so good. You can obviously do whatever you want, but that's just like how I like to do it, and it just looks like so much better. Here's the same idea for Firecracker's face. So as you can see, I'm laying down the colors. Hair is pretty simple. I just add shadows in the background to make it look kind of bouncy, and then highlights on the top. I have not mastered hair. I have not mastered skin, none of that. I am still ass, and I'm still learning, but it looks better than it did 2 years ago, so I'll take that as an improvement. So as you can see for Sister Sage, her skin tone is a little bit less saturated, but I kind of made up for it because I used a lot of deeper tone. Oh, I tried to. Usually when painting darker faces, you want to try and use a lot of flushed red because we have like a nice dark red undertone. Well, it can really depend. I'd also suggest using a reference, okay? I'm no expert, but using a reference whenever you're painting skin is really important because you can get that lightness. So here for Firecracker's clothes, look at that non kind of saturation, but then you build onto it with deeper colors. And it kind of makes it look like a game art. Like, that's what I really like about it. I could kind of make a video about shading that's a little like better. I'm not good at this shit, but yeah. Same idea for Sister Sage. Really a lot of grays for the shadows. I changed the color because it was totally wrong from the reference. Redid her glasses. I touched up a little bit, as you can see, adding shadows, adding whites in the eyes, fixing her eyebrow. I'm done. Oh my god, doesn't it look good? It looks like it just came right out of like a video game, I guess. But yeah, I love it. Yeah, so this is just how I color nowadays, and I hope that this kind of helped you guys. Here are some examples of how I use the C-curve and less saturated colors, what I explained before, to get my artworks. And you can see it just looks so much more vibrant and inviting, and like, you know, like it's supposed to be like a concept. Like, it looks cool. Like, you look at it and you're like, dang. One more tip is using the gradient map. So the gradient map allows you to kind of like play around with colors when it comes to shading and lighting. Here's a little Zelda thing I did. And as you can see, there's presets down here which you can switch, and oh my god, look how cool that looks. I usually do this when I don't like the way my coloring is turned out, and you can adjust it with the shadow color and the light color, the highlight color, the midtone color. But anyway, yeah, that's all for the video. I hope this helped you guys. I always struggled with coloring. I can make a more in-depth video. This was kind of quick, but I do hope that it gets you guys somewhere and you guys don't struggle. Yay!